Anne Boleyn's life is one of the most dramatic and consequential in English history. Born around 1501, likely at Blickling Hall in Norfolk, and was the daughter of Sir Thomas Boleyn, an ambitious diplomat, and Lady Elizabeth Howard, a member of the powerful Howard family. From a young age, Anne and her sister Mary Boleyn were well educated, spending time in the courts of the Netherlands and France, where they learned manners, languages, and the sophisticated social skills that would later help her navigate the treacherous world of Tudor politics. Mary Boleyn returned to England in 1519. Mary became Henry VIII's mistress from 1522 to 1525. Mary was already married to William Carey and they had two children, Catherine Carey and Henry Carey. Historians debate whether either were Henry's children. The relationship ended in 1525. Catherine was born in 1525, and Henry in 1526. Unlike Anne, Henry did not acknowledge the relationship, and returned to England in the early 1520s and soon became a lady-in-waiting to Queen Catherine of Aragon, the first wife of King Henry VIII. She was strikingly beautiful, witty, and intelligent, qualities that set her apart at court. Her rise to prominence, however, was fueled not merely by charm but by her refusal to become Henry's mistress, insisting instead on marriage. This defiance only made Henry more determined. By the early 1520s, he had become obsessed with Anne, believing her to be the key to producing a male heir, something his marriage to Catherine had failed to guarantee. Anne's ascent coincided with a pivotal moment in English history: Henry VIII's desire to annul his marriage to Catherine of Aragon. Henry VIII began seeking an annulment in 1527, claiming his marriage to Catherine was invalid because she had been his brother Arthur's widow. He argued the marriage violated Leviticus 20 verse 21, which says that a man who marries his brother's widow will be childless. The papal legate, Cardinal Campeggio, was sent to England to examine Henry's request for an annulment of the marriage. Campeggio is remembered for his cautious and often delayed approach, which ultimately allowed the matter to escalate. He ultimately adjourned the proceedings in 1529. This was one of the factors that led to the downfall of Henry's Lord Chancellor, Cardinal Thomas Wolsey. Henry, and Anne, blamed Wolsey for the failure of the annulment. In 1529, he was dismissed, while retaining his ecclesiastical offices temporarily. He was accused of treason and ordered to appear before Parliament. While en route to face charges in 1530, Wolsey fell ill and died at Leicester Abbey before any formal trial. When the Pope refused to grant an annulment, Henry broke with the Roman Catholic Church, creating the Church of England in 1534. This act paved the way for his marriage to Anne in January 1533. Anne was crowned queen in June 1533, and in September of the same year, she gave birth to a daughter, Elizabeth, who would later become one of England's greatest monarchs. Anne Boleyn's relationship with Princess Mary, later Queen Mary I of England, was notoriously tense, shaped by political, religious, and personal factors during the tumultuous years of Henry VIII's reign. Mary, deeply loyal to her mother and the Catholic Church, refused to accept Anne as queen and also resisted recognizing Henry's supremacy over the Church of England. Anne's marriage symbolized the religious and political shift that disinherited Mary from the succession initially. Mary viewed Anne as a usurper and an agent in her mother's downfall, and tried to assert authority over Mary, controlling her household and education. But Mary's loyalty to Catherine and her own principles caused frequent disputes. Mary reportedly refused to attend Anne's coronation and resisted wearing the prescribed ceremonial dress for the event. Henry VIII attempted to enforce Mary's recognition of Anne as queen, but Mary resisted. Though Henry had hoped for a son, Anne's failure to produce a male heir planted the seeds of her downfall. The final years of Anne's queenship were marked by tension, intrigue, and courtly rivalry. By 1535, she had lost Henry's favor, and her enemies, particularly Thomascromwell, sought to exploit this. Anne and Cromwell disagreed on what should happen to the proceeds of the dissolution of the monasteries. Cromwell was focused on consolidating royal power and maximizing royal revenues. Anne, in contrast, favored using the funds to support Protestant clergy, schools, and the poor. In May 1536, Anne was arrested and charged with adultery, incest, and high treason. The charges were almost certainly fabricated, but they were enough to seal her fate. Found guilty by a court largely composed of Henry's allies, and was executed by beheading on May 19, 1536, at the Tower of London. She was buried in the Church of St. Peter ad Vincula, the traditional resting place of those executed in the Tower, including Thomas More and later Thomas Cromwell, Catherine Howard, and Lady Jane Grey. Her death marked a dramatic fall from the pinnacle of power, but her legacy endured through her daughter Elizabeth, who would ascend the throne in 1558 and preside over a golden age in English history. Anne Boleyn's story is one of ambition, intelligence, and tragic vulnerability. Her rise reshaped England politically and religiously, while her fall highlights the perilous nature of life at Henry VIII's court, a place where beauty, wit, and influence could elevate a woman to queenship, but where a lack of a male heir could bring her swift destruction.